The week I turned 70, the lilacs bloomed outside my window in Renfield, Ohio, and my daughter threw me a surprise brunch at Miller's Diner. She said it was to celebrate, but when I sat down, there was a manila folder on the seat with a green sticky note that read, POA, signed today. At first I laughed. I thought it was a mistake. Then her husband stood up and said, "A toast to Mom's new home." New home? Loretta, his mother, handed me a shiny keychain shaped like a maple leaf. "For your new unit at Maple Oaks, honey," she said, smiling like she'd just won something. My stomach dropped. 2 days earlier, a thick envelope had arrived on my doorstep. "Welcome to Maple Oaks Senior Living, Unit 2B." Highlighted, circled, like a prize I never asked for. And now here it was, on my birthday, with my whole family watching, asking me to sign papers that would hand them my house, my freedom, and my name. That's when I realized something. They weren't celebrating me. They were moving me. What they didn't know was that I had signed something else months earlier, a quiet little document that would change everything. And by the time the coffee cooled, I was done being for my own good. So the next morning, I called my lawyer and invited my family to the courthouse. That's where the real story begins. I wore my Sunday cardigan and the little pearl studs Henry gave me in 1983 when he still believed in forever. The hostess waved me toward the corner booth, and there they were. My daughter, Rachel, with her hair smoothed into a tight low bun, her husband, Brad, already angling his phone for a video, the kids, Ellie and Max, vibrating with maple syrup, and Brad's mother, Loretta, who smells like a department store in Judgment. "Happy birthday, Mom," Rachel sang out. She slid a manila folder off the seat cushion. "Oops, paperwork. Sit. There was a green sticky note peeking out of that folder. POA, signed today. My stomach dropped a little, the way it did 2 days earlier when I found a thick envelope on my doormat that read, "Welcome to Maple Oaks Senior Living, your new home, Unit 2B." Highlighted, circled, like a prize I never asked for. And now here it was, on my birthday, with my whole family watching, asking me to sign papers that would hand them my house, my freedom, and my name. Before we ordered, Brad stood and tapped his spoon against a water glass. "A toast," he said, performing for an audience that included half the diner. Loretta fished in her bag and handed me a keychain with a tiny brass maple leaf. "For your new place, honey," she said, smiling like she'd planned a wedding. "What new place?" I asked. Rachel gave me her nurse smile, the one she uses in the ER when she has to say words no one wants to hear. "Mom, we've been worried. The fall you took last winter, you burned a pie last month, you keep misplacing your debit card. I found it in the freezer." "Because the kids—" "See?" Brad cut in, compassionate as a parking ticket. "Confused." He laid a glossy brochure on the table. "Maple Oaks, where seniors thrive. We toured last week. They held Unit 2B for you. Deposits due today, that's why we brought the, papers." He patted the manila folder like a Labrador. Ellie's face pinched at the edges. "But Grandma, they said you'll make new friends. They have bingo." Max nudged his pancakes, making syrup ponds. "Do you get a roommate, Grandma?" Everyone chuckled, except me. I pushed my chair back and the pie case squeaked a sympathy note. "On my birthday. You planned my move. Without me." Rachel squeezed my hand, soft but set. "Mom, it's for your own good." That phrase has teeth. I've felt them before. 2 days earlier, my neighbor Margot walked over with coffee and saw the Maple Oaks envelope under my potholder. We trade tomatoes and trouble. Nothing hides in my kitchen when she's in it. "What's that?" she asked. "Junk mail," I said too quickly. Her eyebrows did that thing where they sit up straighter. "Junk mail usually doesn't know your apartment number." So I told her about the realtor's business card I found in Rachel's purse when she asked me to grab her keys, the Zillow tab left open on my iPad showing a familiar corner lot with blue shutters, and the crepe myrtles I nursed through 2 winters. Max's innocent question at T-ball, Mom says when Grandma moves, I get her white couch. Margot listened like she was quilting the pieces together. Do you remember last spring when Miss Patel from the law office came by? She asked. I do, I said. Margot had brought cookies and sat with me while I signed papers I had been saving for years, things I set up after Henry died when the house felt too big and the world felt bigger. I hadn't told Rachel because Rachel calls everything dramatic if she didn't think of it first. You put the house into a revocable living trust, Margot said, reminding me of my own backbone. You're the trustee. Nobody can sell that place out under you. I exhaled for the first time in what felt like months. I did, I said. I thought I might forget, but I did. Still, Margot said, stirring her coffee with a fork and not caring, people who want control don't stop because a door's locked. They rattle the windows. At Miller's, a lot of windows were rattling. Brad slid the folder toward me. Just signatures, he said. Durable power of attorney, healthcare proxies, standard. I opened it. General power of attorney, agent Rachel Cooper. A notice of vacate from my address already filled in with my name and a move-out date. My hands went cold while the coffee steamed. I'm not signing this, I said. Loretta laughed like I told a joke at the wrong party. Evelyn, don't be stubborn. You're barely managing that house. You missed a utility payment last winter. I was in the hospital with pneumonia, I said, and I paid it the day I got home. Rachel's voice turned velvet soft. Mom, you love the kids. Don't make them watch you struggle. I looked down at the tiny brass maple leaf in my palm, then set it back on the table like it was hot. I won't, I said. The diner noise softened into a distant hum. A waitress hovered, confused, holding coffee she didn't know where to pour. Miller's tried again, genial and firm. We already put down the application fee, he said. Don't make this awkward. It turned awkward when you scheduled showings at my house, I said. His face flickered. Just a second. Rachel looked at him. Mom, we were helping. Helping feels like a hand when it asks. It feels like a rope when it tells. I stood up, left a tip big enough to unclench the waitress's jaw, and walked out without my lemon pie, without their papers, without my family trailing behind me. The bell on the door clanged like an opinion. At home, I did what I always do when the world tips. I made tea and pulled receipts. I lined them up on the kitchen table like mile markers nobody else remembered. $12,800, the year Brad was laid off and I paid their mortgage 3 months in a row because the bank doesn't care that you're nice. $3,400, Ellie's braces deposit when she started middle school and cried because her smile made her hide. $5,000 for the minivan transmission because breaking down on I-71 with 2 kids is a memory you don't let your daughter make. Countless school lunches, rides to practices, 3 summers of free childcare. Once Rachel called me her built-in safety net. We both laughed. It doesn't feel funny now. I took a breath and called Miss Patel. I said, it's time. The next morning, I texted Rachel, coffee, need to sign a few things. County courthouse is easiest for the notary, 10 a.m. Finally, she replied, on our way. I wore my denim jacket with my church pin and the lipstick Henry called cheerful trouble. Margot met me in the parking lot and squeezed my hand. Rattle their windows, she whispered. Rachel and Brad arrived with Loretta and a pen. We brought witnesses, he said like he was offering a chilled rosé. Me too, I said. Miss Patel stepped off the elevator holding a notary's clipboard and a stack of papers, none of which belonged to Brad. Good morning, she said, brisk and kind. Evelyn, ready? Rachel frowned. Where's the POA? Miss Patel smiled, polite and edged. Evelyn already has the protection she needs. Today she's executing 3 things. She lifted the top sheet. 1, a formal notice revoking any assumption of authority over others over her finances or residence. 2, an updated will and confirmation her living trust owns her home. 3, a letter of wishes about contact and support. Weekly phone call, monthly visit, no unscheduled showings, and no conversations that start with, for your own good. Brad sputtered. You can't. She can, Miss Patel said. She did, and any attempt to proceed with a listing or transfer will be reported to the county as attempted elder exploitation. Investigators take that seriously, Mr. Jenkins. Loretta's perfume turned sour in the air. Rachel's eyes filled. Mom, we just wanted to keep you safe, she said, almost whispering. I said, then ask me what I want. Don't decide and call it love. The courthouse clock chimed 10. Somewhere upstairs, someone laughed. Down the hall, a baby fussed. I signed my name with a hand that didn't feel 70 at all. So, what now? Rachel asked, flat. You punish us? I set boundaries, I said, and I turn help into choices. I handed her an envelope. Inside was a single page. No more automatic transfers. If you need help, ask and we'll discuss like adults. No more surprise plans. You don't ambush people you respect. I love my grandkids. I set up a college fund they'll access at 26 if they keep genuine contact. No holiday-only check-ins. My door is open to kindness. Rachel read it twice. She folded it carefully like it might crack. Brad stared at a floor tile as if it owed him an apology. Loretta looked at the ceiling, a woman who'd lost a hand she assumed she'd win. We walked out into a day that smelled like cut grass and hot concrete. Miss Patel shook my hand. Your house stays yours. Your life stays yours. Margot hugged me, hard enough to pop my back. She said, lemon pie? We laughed, the kind you can only laugh when a weight slides off a bone you didn't know was carrying it. I didn't move to Maple Oaks. I moved my life 2 miles down the road. I joined the Silver Birch Co-op, a 55-plus community with porches that collect conversations and tomato boxes you have to water before the sun makes decisions. My cottage is the one with the blue wind chimes and the hydrangeas that don't listen to rules about shade. On Tuesdays, there's book club, and the loudest arguments are about whether Agatha Christie cheated. On Wednesdays, I volunteer at the county library for Children's Hour, which is the loudest holy thing in town. Every Thursday, I eat pancakes at Miller's and take a slice of lemon pie home in a clamshell for Margot's imaginary husband, a joke we've told since 1999. I still have the same doctor, the same pharmacist who calls me Miss Evelyn, like I'm in a storybook, the same church pew with a notch where Henry used to tap his ring when the sermon got long. I still carry my own groceries out to the car, though sometimes a teenager in a vest tries to help, and I let him because you should let boys practice being kind. A week after the courthouse, an investigator from Adult Protection Services came by because someone, no one will say who, filed an anonymous concern that I might be unable to manage my affairs. I made her tea. She admired my pill organizer and watched me balance my checkbook with a pencil like I was writing a love letter to arithmetic. She left with a smile and a pamphlet about Tai Chi for seniors. She said, "Come if you want balance. If you want peace, keep doing what you're doing." Rachel didn't call for 4 days. Then she called and told me there was a storm moving in. She said, "Are you okay?" "I'm okay. I put the patio chairs in the garage. I'm not foolish." She said quickly, "I didn't say you were foolish." I said, "You didn't, but you thought I needed a keeper." Silence stretched. "I was scared," she admitted. "Control felt like care." I said, "Control feels like a cage. Care feels like a hand." We started again, smaller. She asked for the soup recipe Henry loved. I sent a picture of the index card with my messy 1978 handwriting and grease stains that look like Ohio. She texted me a picture of Max holding a T-ball trophy he won for breathing. I told her to tell him I was proud. Ellie called me on FaceTime to show me the poster she made for the science fair about what happens when you put carnations in food dye. I pretended I didn't already know because pretending can be a kind of generosity. Of course, not everything was tidy. Control doesn't leave without banging the door on its way out. A week later, I found a realtor lockbox on my doorknob. I laughed so loud the neighbor's dog whined. "You're kidding me," I said to the lockbox, then called Officer Diaz, who lives 3 houses down and plays cornhole like a profession. He came over, took a photo, and clicked the thing off my door with 2 pops of a tool I think was supposed to be for bicycles. "We good?" he asked. "We're good," I said, and set the lockbox on my porch table like a paperweight to remind me that people will try. I put a Buckeyes magnet on my fridge that holds a sticky note Margar wrote in Sharpie. "Ask, don't assume. Love, don't leash." It looks like a slogan, but it's my weather report. I cleaned out the kitchen drawer I'd sworn had a trapdoor to the center of the earth. I sorted the rubber bands and bread ties and found 3 pennies that added up to nothing and reminded me I still like the sound coins make. I took old plastic containers to the church pantry because, as Pastor Jean says, hunger doesn't care if your Tupperware matches. I planted zinnias because if you live in Ohio and don't plant zinnias, the summer writes your name on a chalkboard. Miller's Diner became my office, my confessional, my break room. Sharon, the waitress with the best eyeliner in the county, didn't know what to do that birthday morning, but now she keeps my coffee topped off and lets me sit as long as I want. "You okay?" she asked a week after the courthouse, sliding me the lemon pie without even pretending to ask. "I'm okay," I said. I kept my name. She nodded like she understood more than she said. "That's a good thing to keep," she said. One Saturday, Rachel texted and asked if she could come by with the kids and a couple of hydrangeas for my porch. She pulled up in the minivan that still smells faintly of French fries and daycare crayons. She stood at the bottom of my porch steps like a girl again and said, "Mom, I'm sorry." She looked straight at me, not at my shoes or the hydrangeas or the sky. "We got scared. You were always the net. It didn't occur to me that nets get tired." "Sometimes nets feel like traps," I said, "but I know what you meant." We planted the hydrangeas together. I handed Max the hose and told him to water the roots, not the leaves, and he nodded solemnly like I told him a secret. Miller came by after his shift at the dealership with a plastic clamshell of grocery store cookies and an apology shaped like a joke. "If I'd known lawyers could show up like that," he laughed, "I'd have worn a tie." "Wear a tie to apologize next time," I said. He grinned and swallowed the rest of his pride with a cookie. It wasn't much. It was something. Fall made decisions and the air got that apple crisp kind. I bought mums for the porch because Ohio demands them, and I let Ellie put out a tiny ceramic pumpkin she made in art class with a face like a surprised cat. On Halloween, I gave out miniature candy bars and pretended not to recognize half the kids by their shoes. Rachel asked if I'd like to come over for Thanksgiving without any surprises, I promise. And I said yes with conditions. No toasts about me, no folders on the table, no one using the phrase "for your own good." She smiled. Deal. At Thanksgiving, I carried my cornbread dressing into their split level that still has the dent in the drywall from the summer Bread tried to install the curtain rod by feel. It smelled like turkey and the candle everybody burns that is supposed to smell like leaves and actually smells like childhood. Loretta hugged me, and I hugged her back, because forgiveness isn't a pie you cut once. Brad carved the turkey. Ellie made a list of things she was grateful for on a paper leaf. She wrote, "Grandma's lemon pie," and then giggled because we didn't bring pie. We brought a store-bought pumpkin thing that tasted like a memory of spice. After dinner, Rachel and I did dishes the way we always have, hip bumping and towel fighting like teenagers. She said, "Mom, do you think you'll stay at Silver Birch forever?" "I don't know," I said. "Forever is a big word." "Do you like it?" "I like not whispering in my own house," I said. "I like my porch and my wind chimes and that my neighbor's dog barks at squirrels, not people." She nodded. "I'm trying," she said. I see you, I said. Christmas came with too much glitter and not enough daylight, and we did what families do. We argued about ornaments and forgot who got which gift and ate sausage balls because no one knows why. I gave Ellie a used book of women scientists and 5 gel pens and a promise to take her to the library on Wednesdays. I gave Max a pack of baseball cards and a glove that already knows the shape of his hand. I gave Rachel a framed copy of a photo of her holding me at the hospital after my pneumonia, her hand fierce on mine. I gave Brad a spatula that won't scratch the pan and a truce, the unspoken kind. On New Year's Day, I wrote 3 resolutions on a sticky note. Walk the trail by the river twice a week, take Margot to the art museum on free day, learn the names of all the kids at Children's Hour who call me Miss Evelyn, even the ones who can't say their R's yet. I stuck the note behind the Buckeyes magnet with ask, don't assume, love, don't leash. The fridge hummed its approval. One afternoon in late January, I took the bus downtown because I like to be a person who takes the bus on purpose. I stopped in the courthouse lobby just to feel the cool marble and listen to the echo of footsteps. A young woman was crying on the bench near the vending machine, and I sat on the other end because humans are pack animals. She wiped her eyes and said, "My brother thinks I can't handle things since the baby." I nodded like a woman who has been handled. People think safety and control are the same thing, I said. They aren't. She half laughed, half hiccuped. I needed to hear that, she said. I needed to say it, I told her. Spring pretended to arrive and then didn't, Ohio being Ohio. I planted peas too early and the frost scolded me. Margot brought a blanket for the tomato starts and told me I'd learn. And I said I'd been learning since 1953 and still didn't know how to keep squirrels out of anything. We signed up for line dancing at the senior center and discovered I can follow directions if there's clapping. On a Tuesday, like any other, a letter came addressed to me in careful printing, no return address. Inside was a single sheet. I'm sorry, it said. I showed up to that brunch like a bulldozer because I didn't know how to be scared without turning it into orders. I want to ask instead of assume. Love. Rachel. I put that letter in the drawer with Henry's ring because it belongs with the things that changed my life. Do I sometimes wake at 2 a.m. and taste that birthday morning again? The folder, the keychain, the word stubborn turning into a weapon? Yes, I let myself feel it. Then I set out 2 mixing bowls, line a tin, and make a lemon pie at dawn to carry to Margot or Sharon at Miller's or the teenage boy who pushes carts at Kroger because he smiles at everybody like they're carrying something heavy. Sometimes healing is 3 eggs, sugar, and patience. If you want the neat version, it goes like this. They tried to plan my life without me, and I said no. But nothing real is neat. People have reasons. I have reasons. We are all trying to stretch the blanket and keep everyone's feet warm. It helps to remember that love without respect is control, and control without consent is a cage. When you love someone, you ask, and you leave space for the answer to be no. My front porch faces west. In the evenings, I watch the sky pull on its bruised colors and then settle into navy. And I think about how many times I said yes when I meant maybe, and how many maybes turned into resentments heavy as wet laundry. I think about a girl named Rachel who used to hold my face with sticky hands and say, "Mom, you're the boss," like it was a magic spell. I
think about lemon pie and courtrooms and neighbors who bring coffee and write wisdom on sticky notes. I kept my name. I kept my house. I kept my voice. Some days, those three feel like a miracle you can slice and serve. And for the record, I haven't burned a pie since. A Thursday in June, Rachel called from the parking lot at Silver Birch. "We brought lawn chairs," she said. "Can we sit on your grass?" I told her yes, and we did. We ate popsicles and watched Max and Ellie invent a game with a tennis ball and 0 rules. Rachel leaned back and said, "Remember that day at the courthouse?" "I do," I said. "Thank you for not shutting the door." "Thank you for knocking," I said. She reached over and took my hand the way she did at the hospital after my pneumonia, not to lead me anywhere, just to be where I was. The wind pushed the chimes and made a sound like relief. I still keep the Maple Oaks keychain in a drawer, not because I plan to use it, but because reminders are useful, because a key that doesn't open your door can still teach you what a door is for, because sometimes the things that tried to carry you away stand as proof you learned to stay. If you came to my porch and asked me for the moral like I'm a fable, I would hand you a slice of lemon pie and say, "Respect is the rent you pay for a place in someone's life." Then I'd probably tell you to water the roots, not the leaves. Then I'd ask you how you're sleeping and whether you ever feel like someone is helping you by pushing you. And if you said yes, I'd tell you that you are not a burden for wanting a say. You are not stubborn for wanting your own keys. It was not a blessing when they made me read their plan. It was not a joke. It was a moment that taught me the difference between a rope and a hand. And now when anyone says, "It's for your own good," I smile and say, "Great, then you'll be happy to hear me out." I used to think starting over meant packing boxes and forwarding mail. Now I know starting over can look like a new rule on your fridge, a new habit of asking, a new kind of yes, and a better kind of no. My life didn't move to Maple Oaks. It moved to a porch with blue wind chimes, a library reading rug, a diner booth where the coffee is always warm, and a heart that knows how to lock its doors and open them both. When the lilacs bloom, the whole block smells like hope. I sit outside and let the scent climb into my sweater. Margot says, "You doing okay, Miss Trust in Yourself?" And I say I am. Rachel drives by sometimes and honks, and the kids yell, "Grandma!" out the window, like my name can chase any storm back over the horizon. Ask. Don't assume. Love. Don't leash. It fits on a sticky note, but it's a whole life if you let it be.